running total, all except, those were the formulas that we have seen. Now, apart from that, if we want to calculate or if you want to group the data, then in that case, we can group the data also. That option is already available to us. Okay, so let me show you that option also. So this option we have already seen in the Power Query. So in Power Query, we call that option as group by. Okay, so let me show you how the group by works. So I'll go to transform data. And in the transform data, you will see this group by options. What this group by does is it can group the data based on the distinct values of a specific column, and it can calculate something. Okay, so let's say I have this financial sample data with me, which has 700 rows, 16 columns. Now out of this country column has 5 distinct values. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's say if I want to see the country wise sales, so for each and every country I want to get the respective sales. So for that, what I can do is I can group the data. So for that, the clause is group by. Click on the group by clause here. Okay, so here select the country and then here create a new column. So since the total sales column is not present, I'll create total sales. Then I will select sum here and then I will select sales here. So country wise total sales, and when I click on OK, you can see the data is grouped. I can see the country wise sales. Now this was your basic group by. Now if I want to do the advanced group by, I can do the advanced group by also. So for that, just click on this group by, select advanced. So from here in the advanced, I can group the data by multiple columns also. So country, product and discount band. And in here also I can calculate multiple entities. In basic, you can group only by one data and you can calculate only one column. But in here I can calculate multiple columns also. So total sales, sum of sales, then total profit, sum of profit. So country, product, discount band, total sales, sum of sales, total profit, sum of profit. And when I click on OK, it will group the data based on country, product and discount band. And based on country, product and discount band, it will give us the total sales and total profit. Okay, this is how the group by works when you use it in Power Query. Okay, the same thing if I want to do it in DAX, for that I have a keyword called as summarize. Okay, so let me click on file, let me click on close and apply, and I will show you the same output, but in here we will use the DAX function. Okay, since the output is in the form of table, so I will do this in the data tab. So in the data tab, I will click on this financial table and I will click on new table. Now let's say if I want to calculate the country wise sales. So for that case, what I will do is I will use the DAX function called as summarize. Summarize is exactly like group by what we saw. You have to first specify the columns based on which you want to group the data. And in the end, you have to specify the new column and the formula for that new column. Okay, so let's say if I want to get the country wise total sales. So in this case, the keyword, like I said, is summarize. So I'll say summarize. Now, in case of Power Query, we were already operating on the new table, but in here we are going to work on the existing table. So here I'm going to say summarize. Then first thing is the table which I want to group. So for this case, I want to group the data by financials table, comma. After that, I have to specify the column based on which I want to group the data. So I want to group the data based on country. So I will select country here, comma. And now I want to group the data based on country and I want to calculate total sales. If you remember, we created a new column. Now, in order to create a new column here in the summarize, you have to specify the new column name in the double quotes. Okay. So I will specify total sales here. And after that, we will specify the formula for the sales. So the formula for sales was, we selected the sum operation, and after that we selected the sales formula. And then close the bracket. as you can see, this is showing us the country wise total sales. This output is exactly similar to what output you saw when you did the same operation with the help of the group by clause. So you can do the same operation from that group by clause also. Similar to this, if I want to group the data based on multiple columns, that is also possible. So I'll show you the same thing, country, product, discount band with respect to this. So in here also I will create a new table because this returns multiple things. So let's create this table. So country wise, product wise, discount band wise. Sales and profit. That's what we calculated there. So the keyword is summarize. The input table is the first parameter here. So in this case, my input table is financials, comma. Then we have to specify the multiple clauses. So first is country, comma, product. So as many clauses as you have for group by, you have to specify it, comma, separated. And when you want to create the new column, you have to specify the new column name with the help of double quotes. So here, specify the double quotes and say total sales. Exactly similar to this. So this is my sum of sales. Similar to this, if you need total profit also, you have to specify the new column name in the double quotes. So this is total profit, sum profit. Now this will group the data based on country, product and discount band. And then based on that, it will give you the total profit and total sales. Okay. Anyone, any questions here? This is how you can group the data. Now, what is the use case of this? Sometimes when you have huge amount of data, this information that you see, country, product, discount band, and total sales and total profit, you can actually calculate it on the fly on the visualization also. But what happens is when you calculate something on the visualization, it has to calculate it first, and then it will show on the visualization. So if your data is huge, it will take a lot of time to load that aggregation, for example, sum of sales and sum of profit, and then split it based on country, product and discount band. But if this thing is calculated in the form of table, and if you use this table in the visualization, it will take less time as it is already calculated and stored in the form of table. Okay, so that is the use case of the summarize keyword or the group by clause. Any questions? Okay, moving on. Now let's say I have this table which has the total sales and total profit based on country, product and discount band. Now from this table, I want to get the data, but only the top 10 rows based on the sales. So whatever top 10 rows are there. So let me arrange this data based on sales. So let's say we do sort descending. So these are my top 10 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So these are the 10 rows that I want out of this 115 in a separate table. So in that case, I can use the top 10 operation. So using the top 10 operation, we have to use the function DAX function called as top n. So in case of top n, you'll have to specify the input table and the column, the number of rows that you want from that table, and based on which column you want your value. Okay, so let's say if I want the value based out of this column, so I will have to specify that. Okay, so let me create a new table here. So new table. Now I want to get the top 10 entries based on this total sales of this country product discount band column table. Okay, so let's see. The keyword that we will use is called as top 10. So I will say top 10 sales based on country product discount band equal to, the keyword is top n. In the top n, the first thing that you specify is how many values, how many rows to return. So this will return top 10 rows. The next thing is you have to specify the input table, the table based on which you want to do this. So I want to do this based on country product discount band sales profit table, because this has 115 rows. The next thing that you have to specify is the order by expression. That means based on which column you want the top 10. So here I want the top 10 based on total sales. I'll say total sales, and in here comma I can specify ascending and descending. So if you remember, in the top 10 filter, in the top end filter, in the filter section, we had seen top and bottom option. So if you want top 10 entries, okay, then you will select the descending, and if you want the bottom 10 entries, then you will select the ascending. So here I want the top 10 entries, so I will select descending from here, bracket close, done. So from that table it will give us the top 10 entries based on the total sales. Okay, so if I arrange it based on the sales, yeah, these are my values. So if you compare this and this values where I have arranged it, so Mexico is the first two entries. You can see Mexico, then two entries for United States, then Canada, United States. So two entries for United States, then Canada, United States, then France, France, Canada, France. In here also France, France, Canada, France. So what the top end function did is it actually picked up the 10 rows, the top 10 rows from this, and it actually pulled it up in this table. Okay, so here I calculated the summarize, the top n on the summarize function. Usually summarize and top n are used together in one single function. Apart from that, if I want to calculate the top 10 from this financial table also, even that is possible. Now this is not a summarized table, this is just the plain data, right? So let's say if I want to calculate the top 10 rows based on this profit, even that is possible. So for that, I can click on this new table here. And in here, I will specify the top n. So top n 10. Now my input table will not be the summarized table, it will be financials, because I want to do this on financials, and I want to do it based on profit, and I want to do it based on descending. So you can see this top 10 function has returned us 11 rows. Why it has returned us 11 rows? Because if you see at the top, two values are matching. So when multiple values are matching, they are still considered as one, and that's why in case of 9 values it worked, but for the 10th value 2 rows matched, so that's why it returned 11 instead of the 10 rows here. But if you compare this output with this output, what happened here is you had only country, product, discount band, sales and profit. But when you see this output, this has huge number of columns, right? These 16 columns are present. But let's say here also you want country, product, discount band, sales and profit. Then in that case, instead of passing the entire table, we can pass the selected columns. Now, in order to pass only selected columns to the top end function, we can use the keyword all selected. All you have to write is all selected and the columns that you need for your calculation. So what I need is country, product, discount band, sales and profit. So I will write all selected, and within all selected I will write country, product, I think this is a bug. Yeah, a lot of students reported it to me. Yeah. So country, product, discount band, and profit is what we have to do. So I'll just manually type it. Okay. It is not giving me solutions. So country, product, comma, here, discount band, comma, profit, comma, sales. Now it is showing you the error, but column names are proper. So ideally this should work. So all selected will just filter the columns and it will just give you the columns. Okay. So column sales in table financials cannot be found or may not be used in an expression. What is the column name here? Yeah, you can see country, product, discount band, sales and profit. So only the selected filtered columns are displayed here. So only if you want to use the selected columns, then in that case you can use the all selected keyword. Clear with this?
प्रफुल्ल प्रॉफिट दो बार हुआ है क्या?
हाँ,
प्रॉफिट
हाँ,
2 times repeated, I think.
नहीं, profit is here and profit is here. So this is for filtering. If you remember here I had written financials, Swapnil.
Yes.
So अभी ये चेंज हो गया. अगर मैं यहाँ पे financials लिखूंगा तो you'll get 16 columns, but in order to reduce 16 columns to 4 I had to use the all selected keyword. So all selected keyword से क्या हुआ, country, product, discount band, profit और sales, सिर्फ ये 5 कॉलम हमने हायर क्या बोलते हैं फिल्टर किए, सिलेक्ट किए, और वही कॉलम में से सिर्फ प्रॉफिट पे मैंने डिसेंडिंग में टॉप 10 रोज निकाला है, ऐसा किया उसके लिए. तो आउटपुट जब कंट्रोल करना रहता है ना कि हमको सिलेक्टेड कॉलम्स ही चाहिए आउटपुट में, उसके लिए ऑल सिलेक्टेड कीवर्ड यूज करते हैं. यहाँ पे मैंने वही किया, आउटपुट कंट्रोल किया, बाकी कुछ नहीं है, कोई फिल्टर वगैरह नहीं है, बस कॉलम सिलेक्ट किए.
Yes.
ठीक है. Similar to this, you can create new columns also. So let me show you one function to create new column. So let's say I have loaded this table called as if error. Okay. Now this table has two columns, column A and column B. Now column A has some values, column B has some values. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to divide the column A values by column B values. Okay. Yeah. So this is my column A values. This is my column B values. I want to divide the column A by column B. Now in this case, like I said earlier also, when you do any operations on two columns, likely the output is going to be a new column. So let me create a new column here. So I can click on this new column here. Okay. So in here, in the new column, I want to divide column A by column B. So I will name it as column C. So column C equal to column A divided by column B. So when you divide column A by column B, you can see the first three values, they are fine, but the other three, the last three values, they are not fine. So since the last three values are not fine, it generates an error. And because of generation of error in one cell, the entire column is shown as error. So this is the behavior of Power BI, that if your function doesn't work for single value, then the entire column is shown in the form of error. You can see the error here, right? That's the case. Now, in order to solve this, we can use one keyword which is called as if error. So in case of if error, what we do is we specify the operation that we want to do. And if that operation generates an error, what is the alternate result that we have to display? So for that, the keyword is if error. You can see this fx symbol, this is for function. So I can click on this if error, and in here I can say column A divided by column B. So when you divide column A by column B, it should work. But if it doesn't work, the second parameter is for error. So if error is generated, what to do? So you can specify any value here, text, numeric, anything. So I'll just say here, if any error is generated, return -1 here. So wherever the error is generated, it would actually return us the -1. Okay. So if you see it carefully, the first three values are calculating the division, but the last three values are actually giving us -1 as the result. Okay. So this is the output that we are getting here. Clear with this? Any questions? Well,
No.
okay. Moving on, like we have seen the append operation, we can also combine two tables here in DAX with the help of union keyword. And similarly, if I want to find the common rows between two tables, then I can use the intersect keyword. Okay, so let me show you an example of union and intersect keyword here. So the first function that we will see is union. Union keyword is exactly similar to your append operation, which you have used in Power Query. So what your append operation does is it combines two tables, right? So one table data is appended in the end to the other table. That's what the union operation also does. Union operation can combine multiple table data, and it can give you the output in the new table. Okay, so that is the output of union. And intersect is like finding the common rows. So if I have two tables and if I want to find the list of common rows, then in that case I can use the intersect keyword. Here I am talking about common rows, so that means all the column values should match for that specific row, then only that would be considered as common. Okay, so for that, let's take an example. This is my IND table, which has country, state, count, and total. You can see 3 entries. And I have this USA table, which has same country, state, count, and total as my 4 columns, but the entry is different. Here I have 2 entries. So 3 plus 2, 5. I want a new table where I should have all the 5 entries from both the tables. Okay, so for that I can create a new table. So I'll click on new table here. And in this new table, I will use the union keyword. So union is the keyword, and you can specify any number of tables separated by comma. So in here, I will specify two tables. First is IND, second is USA. So I want to combine the data of IND and USA here. So 3 plus 2, 5. So I should have 5 entries. As you can see here, we have 3 entries from IND table and 2 entries from USA table. So this is exactly like your append operation, which you see here. Okay. Similar to this, if I want to find the list of common rows between two tables, then I can use the intersect keyword. So this is my intersect table 1, which has these 6 entries. And this is my intersect table 2, which has 7 entries. If you carefully observe the table 1 and table 2, the first 3 entries are matching row wise: JK, MS, WB, 20, 25, 10, 800, 1000, 900. Same is the case here. The first 3 entries are matching, the other 3 entries are not matching. So let's say if I want to get the list of common rows, so for that I can use the intersect keyword. So in case of intersect, it will find the common rows and it will return it to us. So here the keyword is intersect. So int equal to intersect. And in here you have to specify the left table and the right table. So I'll say table 1, which is my intersect table 1, comma table 2.
This is like union and in and all.
Union is different, and then intersect. Union and intersect, like that. Swapnil. Union all is different. Okay. You can achieve, I think, this with the help of minus keyword, if I'm not wrong. There is a minus keyword also, right, in databases?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Yeah. So you can use minus for two things, if I'm not wrong. One for getting the common rows, second is getting for uncommon rows. Both the cases can be done here. Okay. As you can see, it is giving us the list of common rows, intersect function. Okay. And like Swapnil said, if I want to get the list of uncommon rows, for example, in this intersect table 1, first 3 are matching, the other 3 are not matching. In case of this intersect table 2, first 3 are matching, the last 4 are not matching. So if you want to get only the non-matching rows, then the keyword is except. But except keyword can only find the non-matching rows from the first table. Okay. So you just have to change the parameter for getting the second value. So like I said, the keyword is except equal to except, and in here you have to specify the left table and the right table. So if I want to get the non-matching rows for table 1, I have to specify the table 1 first. So in table 1 there are 3 rows which are not matching. So it will give you the 3 rows which are not matching from table 2. Okay, so total count of intersect table 1 is 6. 3 are matching, 3 are non-matching, which it is showing you now. Similar to this, if I change this to 2 and if I change this to 1, the output would be 4, because in table 2 you have 7 rows, 3 rows are matching and 4 rows are not matching. See, okay, so union, intersect, and then except keyword. Clear with this? Any questions? Okay. Now next thing is the if keyword. So if keyword is something which you have used, which you might have used a lot in Excel sheets and in programming. So sometimes that is needed to calculate the value. Okay, so in this case, if you want to calculate something, okay, then in that case you can use the if keyword. Now let's say I want to use the if keyword here to calculate something. Now, yeah. So let's say I have this profit column which has positive, negatives, and zero value, and I want to create a new column which should have the sign of the profit. So that means if my profit is greater than zero, it should show +1, which is 1, and if my profit is less than zero, it should show -1. Okay, so in that case I can use the if keyword on this profit column. So how to write it? I'm creating a column based on this column, so that's why it will be a new column, and in the new column I will specify the condition. Yeah. So in here I will use the keyword. Now my new column name is sign equal to, and in here the keyword that I will use is if, as you have used. And in if there are three parameters, the logical test, that means the condition to be evaluated, and the other two parameters are what happens if the condition is true, what happens if the condition is false. So my condition is if profit is greater than zero, it should be +1, else it should be -1. So I will type profit here, and when I say profit, I can say if profit is greater than zero, then it should be 1, else it should be -1. As you can see, this column will have only two values. First is 1, second is -1. Now in case of if, usually we have more than one or two, sometimes three condition. So how to write the three condition? Let's say I have profit greater than zero, I have profit less than zero, and I have profit equal to zero. So when it is equal to zero, it should be zero. When it is less than zero, it should be -1. So in that case, I will have to append this to include the third condition. So to include the third condition, we'll have to add it in the last part. So instead of writing the value here, we will write the function again. So this is called as nested if. So in nested if, we write if within if. So now what I will say is if my profit is equal to zero, then it should be zero, else it should be -1. So this is what we call it as if within if. So within this case, what will happen is it will first check if profit is greater than zero, and if profit is greater than zero, it will return 1. Next thing is, if this condition is false, it will check if profit value is zero. If profit value is zero, it will write zero, else it will assume that it is not equal to zero, it is not greater than zero, it is obviously less than zero, so -1. So when I execute this, you will see three values within this if function. So if I show you this, it will show me 1, 0, and -1. Clear with this? Any questions? Okay. The next function that we will see is today. Now today is actually used to store today's date. So you can create it in new column, you can create it in new measure, doesn't matter. Okay. When I create it in new column, it will repeat the same formula again and again for all the values. But I need it for certain reason, that is why I'm writing it here. So today function will give you the today's date. Okay. So let's say today equal to today. So when I write this, it will calculate today's value and it will store it in this column. Since my date format here selected is DDMMYYHHMMSS, general date, that's why it is showing you this much information. But if I select short date format, you will see only the date. Okay, if I want to get tomorrow's date, I can write today plus 1. Okay, you can see the previous date will the next date will be shown, which is 15th, and if I do -1, it will show me yesterday's date. Okay, yeah, so this is your date and this is your today's date. I think for today's date also the hierarchy is created, date hierarchy. Yeah, now let's say you have this date column and you have this today's date column. You want to subtract these two date columns to store their output. So in that case, you can use a function called as date diff. So date diff will give you the difference between in two dates in terms of days, months, years, quarters, hours, minutes, and seconds. Okay, that is how much you can get it. This function is exactly equivalent to your subtract days option, which you had seen, or the age option that you had seen in Power Query. So you can do it from there also. Okay. So the function name is date diff. So in this case, you have to specify 3 parameters: date 1, date 2, and the interval. So in the date 1 and date 2, it will by default do the subtraction between date 2 minus date 1, and it will give you the answer based on the third parameter, which is the interval. So let me say this is my diff equal to, now the function is date diff. Now inside date diff, you have to pass date 1 minus date 2. So in here, I want to subtract today's date minus the date because I want to get the difference in positive. So in this case, I will first specify the financial date column, and then I will specify the today column, which I have created. So you can directly pass the today's date also here, or you can pass the financial today column also. So I pass this today column here, comma, I specify the year. Interval. So here you can specify the output, whether you want output in days, hours, minutes, month, quarter, second, week, and year. So this is my day output. I close the bracket and I press enter. Okay, so in this case, it is going to subtract today's date minus date. So date is obviously in the 2013-14. So this difference will be positive. If I specify the today's date first and then the date second, then the same difference will appear in the form of negative. See, you can see the difference in positive now because 2022 has started and we are subtracting 2023 and 2024. So close to 8 years. So approximately 2400 or 2600 days. So that is one of the reasons this difference is positive. Okay. Any questions here in the date diff function? No. Okay. So with this, the DAX functions are over. So in the next session, I will show you the DAX functions related to database. So when you connect to database, how do you connect to database? What are the connectivity modes? What's the difference between them? If I want to calculate something in a database, what are the functions available to me? How to calculate it? Those type of options we will see in the next session. Okay, so our next session will be on Tuesday. So from there we will start databases. We'll have approximately 2 sessions to discuss that, and then afterwards we'll discuss the gateway part. Okay, so next week will be our last week. Okay.